Hey, what's going on, folks? Yes. This is another episode of Just My Opinion with Ryan. Thank you all for tuning in, and let's get into it. Everybody, well, before we get into it, if this is your first time, please hit that like and subscribe button. Don't be a stranger in the comments. Let me know what you think about today's episode. Pardon me. Let's have a back and forth dialogue. Let's get into it. But nevertheless, everyone knows yesterday was Snowfall Day. One of the shows that, once again, I'm not going to stream the next day. I'm watching that real time. It's so good. That is definitely appointment television. So let's get into it. Yesterday's episode, or last night's episode, a lot went down. Give you a warning. I might be all over the place. For example, every episode that keeps passing on, Veronique is starting to look more and more funny in the light, man. But I'm jumping all over the place. I'm way ahead of myself. Last night's episode starts off with a meeting, the family meeting with Franklin, Leon, Jerome, and Louie. They all talking about what to do about Kane, and they clearly have completely different ideas or different perspectives on how to approach Kane. On one side, Jerome and Louie, we got to hit him back. We know who did it. Now it's time to get revenge. While Franklin and Leon, on the other hand, they're like, nah, let's have a sit down with him first. Let's see if we can talk it out. And I ain't gonna lie, I kind of agree with Franklin and Leon more so than Jerome and Louie. Just hitting back Kane, it's just going to be a matter of just back and forth, a never-ending back and forth where, it's going to be some bodies dropped, some lives lost, and all the other stuff. And apparently, since Kane is an OG, he's going to have a lot of pull anyway. He might have more pull than the family. So, I actually agree with Franklin and Leon. So, Franklin volunteers to talk to Kane, and he lets him know, look, if Kane doesn't listen, then we'll hit him up. But let me at least talk to Kane first and see how we can work this out. And so, there's that. Once again, I'm agreeing with their strategy more so than let's just hit him up and see what's going on. Before that scene ends, Jerome, he's upset, and he walks out and is like, look, y'all do what y'all want to do. I'm going to go find Peaches, and then after I deal with Peaches, I'm going to go look for Kane. So y'all do what y'all want to do, but that's what I'm on. And Louie, of course, feels the same way. They leave out. One thing that I do feel like is kind of forced, this whole lustful relationship between Teddy and, her name escapes me, but Teddy and the woman that she was, the woman that he was in the Contras with, or in the woods with, when he was providing them weapons to help with some war. That whole situation seems weird and forced. It's like, yes, Teddy desperately came to your house. He was all shot up. He needed to be nursed back to health. And next thing you know, she just is apparently like this undercover closet freak. She's trying to take advantage of him. Well, not take advantage. It seems pretty mutual. But, she's very up for and upfront about what she wants as far as, having sex with him and all that. That's just a weird dynamic, in my opinion. But on another sense, you can tell things are a little awkward when it comes to Franklin and Veronique. Franklin goes in the office, and Veronique is already sounding worried about some deal not going through. And nevertheless, just that whole thing is weird, man. She's still trying to, in my opinion, she still looks at him more like just like a casual guy, she had sex with, other than this person that was going to be, the love of her life and all that other stuff. So that's just a weird, that's just getting weird too, man. I'm telling you, man, it's getting funny in the light for Veronique, as I mentioned earlier. And I think another person who is starting to peep that is Sissy. Sissy's starting to peep that. She's looking at her a little weird. And you saw, she looked at her bag. She still has the pin that has the undercover wire, or the wire. So we all know what's going on, what's coming next. Sissy is going to plant that wire pin somewhere in Veronique's office just to see what's really going on with her. And another thing I like doing when it comes to Snowfall and some other popular shows, I like live tweeting in a sense. I don't do as much tweeting, but I like seeing what people are saying as things are transpiring. And some people are like, they don't even think Veronique is pregnant. They're like, she's a fraud from the beginning. She ain't even pregnant for real. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that information. I don't know what her end game would be with pretending to be pregnant. If anything, I thought it would be the opposite. I thought you would try to trap somebody like Franklin, who has millions of dollars with his whole, drug empire and stuff like that. But it does look weird. I guess as the season progresses, we'll see what the end game is with that. If it's even true that she's faking about the pregnancy. And if you did peep it, she didn't sound too worried or sad when she was like mentioning something about, doctors say within, week 10 and 12, 10 through 12, those weeks are like the most sensitive weeks anyway when it comes to the possibility of like miscarriages and so forth. So I don't know. To me, it's starting to sound like she's already setting up the possibility of a lie of why she's not pregnant. Like maybe she's going to lose the baby or something. But that's just weird. This whole episode, and that's another thing too, man. I really think that, I don't know what it is, but Franklin just has bad luck with women. I don't know why. Granted, in the earlier seasons, Melody shot him, almost killed him, for good reason though. I mean, Franklin killed her father, so you understand. So Franklin almost dies when Melody shoots him, and then we get to season 4 when he reconnects with, I guess, like an ex-girlfriend at some point in his life, Tanose. And they ended up rekindling some things, but come to find out, she was a snitch for Manboy anyway. She was taking information from what she, what she found out about Franklin and running it up to Manboy. And now this, I feel like Veronique is also going to do something very shady, very, very unloyal to Franklin, very unloyal to the family. And as the loving, protective mother that Cece is, she's going to get to the bottom of it. And that's another thing. Just a lot of relationships are really very, very, very tense. Relationships are really on a down spiral. And when I say relationships, I'm talking about that working relationship between Teddy and Franklin. That's looking bad. You see how Teddy's been off ever since he got back on the case. He had that, break or whatever you call it. He was fired, but now that ever since he's been back on the case, he's just been an asshole. He's already talking to Franklin about, look, I don't want you buying any type of high profile purchases. You got to come alone. He's questioning the security and the driver, anybody else who's coming with Franklin. He wants to be responsible for letting Franklin know where the meetups are going to be, all that. And that's just ugly as well. And so that's another thing. So that's what that relationship is with Teddy and Franklin. That is going down the drain. Teddy's got to go, and I think Franklin eventually knows that. Even though Gustavo is playing it kind of cool, Gustavo, I think he's on the low looking at Teddy a little weird too, a little funny. Especially since, hell, in that shootout, Teddy left Gustavo, and who was there to help him? Gustavo let him know, like, Franklin's mom got me back together when we got to Franklin's bar. So Franklin's mom helped me out. Your ass left me. But Franklin and his team, they looked out for you, boy, while you just ran off. Granted, you got shot, but you still ran off on your boy. And it's Franklin who's the one that helped me out. So I really do feel like that relationship between Gustavo and Franklin, that's really going to come back to bite Teddy in the ass in some form or fashion. That's coming back to haunt Teddy in somehow. So you can tell Gustavo, I wouldn't say he's torn. I really think that he secretly disagrees with how Teddy is behaving. And, he got love for Franklin. I mean, he saved his life, basically, when he came back, and rescued him from the whole tiger. You remember that episode? So there's that. And that's another thing I like as well. I think one of the highlights in this episode was definitely Jerome. I really like this episode of Jerome. Jerome is definitely on his never-ending quest in this whole episode about finding out where Peaches is. Unfortunately, he still has no idea where Peaches went. To the point where he ended up at like some dope house or some drug house with all these different addicts, and they're like, "Oh, Peaches ran to Thailand or he went to somewhere else." And I guess to Louis' point, you can't blame him. It was like, you saw what Peaches saw Franklin kill white dude in the first episode of season 5. And he killed him because he was a drug addict. So if it is true that Peaches is a drug addict and not not a HIV and not a victim of HIV, yeah, I would probably leave too. It was like, damn, Franklin killing drug addicts who's on his team. I'm on his team. I'm a druggie. I need to bounce. And so I've been hearing like rumors or I guess, guesses or predictions that people feel like Peaches has HIV. And I'm thinking it's more so he's just a junkie, just like the guy was in first episode of season 5. And so I feel like Peaches knows that his days are numbered and he just left. So the way it's looking, I don't think we'll ever find Peaches. I think Peaches is just, dust to the wind. He's just gone. Which is kind of sad. I really did like DeRay Davis' character, even though it's not like one of the biggest roles, but he was still a solid, reliable dude on the show, a solid, reliable guy on the team. So as I mentioned, Jerome's searches ended up nowhere. It's not like he found where Peaches was, and we did get the happy moment two happy moments. One, when he met up with the doctor, the doctor mentions to him about he needs some type of therapy of some sort. And there's no shame of seeking help, especially when it's mental or emotional help. And then, while he's waiting on the white guy who say he knows where Peaches hangs out, he goes into, him and the white guy, they both go into that, I guess like a help group that's talking about their time or how they're struggling with PTSD and so forth from being formerly in the military or having some like war experiences. So I thought that was cool, but the highlight in my opinion was it was small, a very short scene, but we get Jerome proposing to Louis. I felt like that was dope, and just a lot went on in this episode. I felt that was cute, and if you look at the previews for next episode, it looks like they didn't waste any time. It looks like the very next episode, Jerome and Louis are getting married. I am hoping that it's not going to be some type of red wedding type of shit. I mean, if you looked at the previews for the next episode, you see clips of like Franklin crying. I think somebody else was crying. I just hope this wedding doesn't allow Kane or somebody to get the drop on that whole family and unfortunately have like one of the key family members die. Whether it's Leon, Jerome, Louis. Something doesn't look right. So I'm hoping it's not some type of red wedding type of stuff. That's a Game of Thrones reference for those who aren't familiar. And as I mentioned, this show is so great. So much stuff went into this episode. I know I'm all over the place. But you also notice that Louis still put things in motion in terms of talking to a crooked cop friend who was a sleazeball in the first place. He's lusting after Louis, wanting to have sex with her, knowing that Jerome is unhinged, knowing that Jerome is quick to squabble with a nigga, but yet he still wants to try to flirt around with Louis. Of course, Louis standing the ground was like, nah, I don't play that stuff. But the most important thing of that exchange was apparently Louis already set in motion that, hey, go ahead and I need you to go ahead and handle Kane for us. So it looks like it's either going to be a hit or possibly just do something to send Kane back in jail. More than likely, I'm thinking it's going to be a hit because if I'm not mistaken, they agreed on a price of $75,000 to give to the crooked cop. So that's definitely hit money. So Kane, Louis and Jerome trying to take Kane out. Jerome even said before he even proposed, like, look, I got your back. Keep moving do what you want to do. So there's that. And also, that's another uplifting part about Jerome. Jerome also says, you know, he wants to get back to the hood and wants to start back to building up his community. So I thought that was really good. And you see the part where he goes back to his old neighborhood. His friends are looking at him and welcoming with open arms. So apparently that's another thing I like about Jerome. Jerome, next to Franklin, Jerome is hands down my favorite character of the show. And apparently he's trying to put something into motions to give back to the hood or possibly uplift that community. So as I mentioned, thank you for bearing with me. I know I can be all over the place, but this show is just so good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next, man. Once again, I don't know about predictions, but I do feel like Kane is going to do something to mess up Jerome and Louis' wedding. Perhaps it's a situation where like the crooked cop tries to put a hit out on Kane and something goes awry, and Kane gets word that it was Louis who put out the hit. I think Kane is going to ruin that big wedding day for Jerome and Louis somehow. That's one of my predictions. And I almost forgot. I don't know. You know, if you saw this episode, please let me know. Did it sound like Teddy wants to get rid of Franklin as well? I know he was. He said the words of like he was talking to Gustavo, and he told Gustavo Franklin's getting a little too sloppy. You know, he's going to need Gustavo's help with setting up some like surveillance equipment. So I don't know, man. It looks like Teddy might be trying to not take Franklin out, but maybe set Franklin up to go to jail or something. But nevertheless, sounds like he wants to get rid of Franklin into some form of fashion. And I only bring that up because when I heard him say he's getting too sloppy, it reminded me of how Teddy handled his replacement. Remember, he told his replacement, you know, you're just really bad at your job, and he messed around and poisoned the dude and killed him. So I feel like in some form or fashion, Teddy is also going to try to take out Franklin. I don't know if he's going to try to kill Franklin or if he's just going to set him up to send him to jail or something. But I don't like Teddy at all. Teddy is clearly the villain in this season, you know, along with possibly Kane. And I know I'm all over the place. And speaking of Kane, that meeting with Kane and Leon seemed like it went well to the point to where, you know, Kane maybe tentatively agreed with Leon's terms. You know, Leon sat down with him and even explained what really went down when it came to Kev and Delroy. So we'll see where that goes. So thank you for hanging in with me. I know I'm all over the place. I just love that show so much. There's a lot to unpack there. I try not to make these videos too long, but nevertheless, thank you for hanging in there. This is just my opinion. Hate it or love it. Peace.